Can Queen Victoria eat cold apple pie? School children back in the day once used this mnemonic to remember the names of the 7 hills of Rome. We'll look at each of the hills in this short video and whether they still define the city in the way they once did. The history of Rome is closely linked to the 7 hills. Although today they and the land around them are covered with buildings, back in the early days of Rome they were isolated high points with marshland in between. It was only after the Etruscans, who provided some of the first kings of Rome, built the Cloaca Maxima, which is described as a sewer but was really a drainage channel, that the marsh water drained into the river Tiber and the lower lying land became suitable for building the Roman Forum. It's not surprising that the 7 hills were so important to the ancient Romans and their fascination with their own origin myths. I'm going to abandon the order of the hills in the mnemonic and go in order of historical importance instead. The Palatine is in the middle of the 7 hills and is where Romulus founded the city. In this case, Roman mythology has some support for modern archaeology, with some of the earliest remains of buildings, although no signs of any she-wolf. The Palatine was chosen by emperors, including Augustus, Tiberius and Domitian, for their newly built palaces, and the name of the hill is the origin of our word palace today. So massive were the palaces that the builders of medieval Rome, who took most of the materials for their own buildings, didn't destroy them completely, and the Palatine is the only one of the hills which was not subsequently covered by newer buildings. The Aventine Hill also played an important role in the myths around the founding of Rome, with Remus choosing it in competition with his brother Romulus on the Palatine. The Aventine looks across the Circus Maximus, which lies in the dip between it and the Palatine. Although plundered for building materials, it's easy to imagine the chariot racing in front of crowds of up to 200,000 spectators. Even today it's used for concerts and demonstrations, with over 1 million people seeing Roman singer-songwriter Antonello Venditti give a free concert in 2001 to celebrate Roma winning Serie A, with Francesco Totti and others on stage with him. The Capitoline Hill overlooks the Roman Forum, and the iconic view of the picture postcards is taken from its summit. The Capitoline has given its name to where legislators meet, as in the Capitol in Washington, D.C. It retains its governmental role today, as the Roman City Council is based there, as well as the wonderful Capitoline museums. It certainly feels like a proper hill when climbing the steps. The Quirinal is the highest of the hills and is the site of the Quirinal Palace, built in 1573 as a cooler summer residence for the popes. It became the residence of the King of Italy after unification in the 1870s, and since 1948 has been the residence of the President of the Republic. The Viminal is the smallest of the 7 hills of Rome, and is the site of the baths of Diocletian. Michelangelo transformed the sizable remains into the Basilica of Santa Maria degli Angeli, and there's still much to see today of the Roman ruins. The Esquiline Hill, south of Rome's main station, was fashionable in Roman times, less so nowadays, although it is on the up. The under-visited Basilica of Santa Maria Maggiore is near its summit, and retains its 5th century structure, a proper Roman-style basilica. The Esquiline is the largest of the 7 Roman hills, and is where Nero built his so-called Golden Palace, which included a large lake and a huge statue of Nero known as the Colossus, and it's from this statue that the Colosseum, which replaced the palace, took its name. The last of the 7 hills is the Caelian, between the Colosseum and the baths of Caracalla. In Roman times the Caelian was where the rich built their grand houses, something which hasn't changed that much today. There are other Roman hills, in addition to the famous 7 hills, including the Pincio and Monte Testaccio. One of the most famous views of Rome across the rooftops to the Dome of St. Peter's is from the Pincio, and you can access it both from the Spanish Steps and Piazza del Popolo. Monte Testaccio is a huge mound made up of ancient Roman amphora from the nearby port on the river Tiber. It wasn't worth reusing these clay jars, so they were dumped there, piled on top of each other. Nowadays it casts its slightly menacing shadow over the whole Testaccio area, including the Commonwealth War Cemetery and the Radio Londra disco bar. I would love to say that the psychogeographical character of each of the 7 hills continues to today, and that there is some sort of continuity from antiquity to the present, but I don't think it would be strictly true. The reality is that ancient Rome quickly outgrew its hills, just as ultimately it outgrew the city itself. And so, there you have it. Can Queen Victoria eat cold apple pie? Yes, of course she could. I hope you found this video interesting. If you would like to see more videos about all things Italian, please do subscribe and click the like button.